Hey, what's up everyone, this is Sean, and welcome to a brand new video here on the Magic and Thrills. Hey, what's up everyone, this is Sean, and welcome to a brand new video here on the Magic and Thrills. Now in this video I wanted to kind of start my Universal Orlando content with sharing my very first or earliest Universal Orlando memories and my most recent Universal Orlando memories. So for me, I actually was kind of not really introduced. My family was more of a Disney family when I was a kid. So we actually had, from what I remember, we had annual passes to Disney World, and we didn't really go ever to Universal Orlando back then, in like the late 80s, early 90s that I remember. So I remember hearing about the rides that were at Universal, but they were not really like as on the, I want to say in a, not in a negative way, just they were not really in the same kind of ranking, if you will, of what Disney World had at that time in the late 80s, early 90s, and from my memories of it at least. So for me, I did not actually start visiting Universal Orlando until pretty much when Harry Potter, the whole Harry Potter land kind of got announced, or got announced and then became part of the Universal Islands of Adventure experience. And I remember planning a vacation for my family, my wife and my kids, and it was only for me, but it was also for my for my whole family also as well. And that was just under 10 years ago now, so it's kind of crazy that that's my first memory, or my earliest memory of that. And I remember going into the area of, because I thought it was interesting that they chose what they chose, Universal meaning, for the rides and just the experience that they chose of doing Diagon Alley and having that be kind of separate, and then having the the Hogwarts Express, which is a cool idea, I think, to have it be the connector between the two lands of Universal and Islands of Adventure, of them being separate and having connect together with the Hogwarts Express. But for me, it was really ride wise, because I'm more of a thrill ride person. It was really more of what set the tone for what it would probably be, honestly, for Hagrid's Magic Motorbike Adventures, because up to that point in time, I'd never really ridden or been on a ride that was, for me at least, that smooth of a ride with as much of a technicality as Hagrid's has, meaning it goes backwards, goes forwards, it stops, it drops, all those things. So spoiler if you haven't done it, does all those things. But for me, it was such an interesting thing. Like, it wasn't the wand stuff for whatever reason. Like, I wasn't really into the whole dress up thing. I didn't buy the wardrobe, like the cloak. I didn't buy that. I didn't buy a wand when I went. I thought it was really cool stuff, but it wasn't even the pricing of it all. It was just that I just wasn't really into that kind of part of it. I read all the books, I've seen all the movies, all that stuff, like I for sure did. And that was the reason why I went to Universal in the first place, was because of all the Harry Potter land. I wanted to see all of the creations that they had. So I thought that was really cool. And then I went there with my wife and my kids. And again, I wanted to go for the ride because I heard it was very, very, just very fluid and very just not super intense, but still, up to the level of like where you'll still have a good time on it if you like the thrill of everything. And I remember the first time I actually rode the ride for Hagrid's, and it was a very weird experience because I was not used to having a ride a roller coaster, that did all those things in one shot. And as far as like drop down, going backwards, and having it kind of like halt in a way, like if you've ever ridden the ride, you know what I mean. So I wasn't used to that. I was very used to the kind of like, if you will, the old-fashioned roller coaster type, where it just goes. It's kind of like Velocicoaster, and not to put that down at all, because that's a whole different amazing discussion myself. But that's what I was used to. I was used to a ride where it's like you get going and you go the whole way through, as far as a roller coaster goes. So it really threw me off quite a bit when I first rode Hagrid's, because I didn't know the whole ride sequence at all, and that's what made it so much fun. Is that it was just kind of that kind of experience of you really are on a journey. And still to this day, my favorite thing about it is the fact that it's got really, you can't see everything on the ride from a first look, meaning from like a face value kind of look. I guess you can watch the right point of view online if you really want to. You can't film on it, which I think is a great idea because of how of what it does, of how intense it is. But I went into it kind of blindly, just knowing that it was a really fun ride, and then I had heard all the hype about it, because I remember going. It was a couple years, like a year or two after it was opened. Like I didn't go there like opening weekend or anything like that. It was just not that I wasn't that like aggressive about it. But I remember going and I remember just like being ready for it and just it was just I thought it was interesting that they actually had the sidecar be so much lower and be so much. It feels like it's smaller to me. I mean, it may not be than the actual bike part of the ride for the before you get on. And I thought it was really cool how the walkway does not stop at all, and I thought that was a really cool way of keeping it going. So I give Universal Creative their team a very very high praise for that ride because, in my opinion, a lot of things on Hagrid's are very very still revolutionizing for coasters. Again, I have no idea, and this is all of course before Epic Universe and the Ministry ride and all that kind of stuff open. So when that comes out, I'll make a video on that. Of course, I'm gonna go there this summer and experience that for the first time, just like you. All of you are too, probably. But I'm excited because, or it was exciting because it was to me it was a first generation ride of its type, and again it was I was very used to only the forward only full speed most of the time roller coaster. So, and again, I only saw the face value of it, meaning I only saw what you saw when you go through the queue line, through the line and stuff at the park. So I had no idea that the drop was going to happen. I had no idea that it was going to go backwards. I didn't know that stuff. So that made it much more exciting for the first time I ever rode it. So let me know what you think about that ride, and tell me also your earliest memory, because I know Universal's been open for a long time, obviously, and I mean, I might sound horrible for not going there until recently, but for me, it just there was not enough rides or of an experience over at the time what Disney had. Now that's changing, and I'll make videos all the changing, but because I feel like now Universal is catching up drastically, and they're being very aggressive in a cool way about what Disney has, and I'll make videos about that too later on. But for the sake of this video, I just wanted to kind of dive into my first early memory, which is only a couple years ago, but we all start somewhere, right? So that's my earliest memory. My most recent memory of Universal actually is going to be either it's a tie between the Velocicoaster and also between Halloween Horror Nights. So I am a huge lover of horror in general, the horror genre, and I didn't actually know that Universal, like as a studio, really kind of started off the horror genre in a way. I mean, in a sense, I don't watch many of their horror movies. I mean, I love Blumhouse. I love all the things that they've done in the recent years, especially with Halloween Horror Nights. I love all that. But for me, like my most recent memory would be Halloween Horror Nights, because I've now gone. Again, I know it's been going on for, I think it's the 34th year now. I might be wrong about that, but I've gone every year now for the past 2 years. I'm going to go again this summer too, and I'm going to combine my Epic Universe and Halloween Horror Nights trip into one thing, which will be really cool. But for me, like I've been a lover of the whole genre of horror and thrillers and all those movie types for forever. So I'm excited. So I'm super stoked. I love that, and I was always kind of not nervous, but just kind of afraid, if you will, of haunted houses in a sense, because of the fact that like I go to haunted houses every year in my local area here, because again I'm not from Orlando, I don't live there, so I've never really knew if it would be too much for me, because again I it's not that I get scared easily, nothing like that, but it's more of like for me, like because I go by myself, I go solo just because I have kids and it's hard to, and I don't want to take them into that environment yet. So it's just a very thing. Like it was just, I remember the first year that I went to Halloween Horror Nights, which was actually during COVID, or it was right after COVID was it wasn't over, but it was, things were opening up slowly, and I remember it being a weird thing, because Universal was not doing a full version of Halloween Horror Nights at all. Like they did, I think it was like, I think they did 4 houses, and it was weird because not to get into all the COVID stuff. I'm not going to get into that, but it was just the weirdness of it was that they had glass between you and the scare actors the first year after COVID, or the reopening year after COVID for Halloween Horror Nights. And I mean, it wasn't technically Halloween Horror Nights yet. It was just like they wanted to have something of a Halloween experience at the park, and it was included with the ticket for the day. You didn't have to pay extra for it. But it was a weird thing, because that was my first year of going, was that. And it was a weird experience, because it was like you knew what was happening or where the characters were, because they had the glass between you and them. So that was a weird part about it, was like it wasn't super, I don't want to say scary or not scary, but it was just a very weird kind of walkthrough, because they still had all the elements of what Halloween Horror Nights was or is, in that walkthrough, in those walkthrough experiences of those 4 houses, but it wasn't nearly the same thing. And that's what made it very, very interesting, was that it wasn't the same, but it was a really awkward first time experience for me going, but I got hooked onto the whole experience from that experience because I love the idea of having, you know, whether it was IP stuff or Universal original stories be created. I loved the idea, and I still love it. It's my favorite thing about Orlando, I should say my favorite thing about Universal is that they do it new stuff every year, and it's all original for the most part and creative for the most part. And I love that so much because it keeps it so new and exciting to be like, okay, what's going to happen this year, and what's going to be announced, when's it going to be announced, all that kind of stuff. So I just love the first year for me was very awkward because it was like that weird awkward COVID experience of having, again, the glass be there, but it was still intense because they still had like bloody, you know, parts of it, but it wasn't the same as what it is now or what it was in the past. So that was the weird part, but it's my best experience for recent memories because I now plan my year around Halloween Horror Nights of what it is now, and I do, because I go there for maybe, I don't live in Orlando, so I go there for literally 2-3 days by myself every year just for Halloween Horror Nights, and I knock it all out and I do the RIP tour every year just because I just think it's more fun to go and hear someone from Universal explain the stories and explain the history, because they always give like a cool creation story of what went into the individual house and then how it kind of may have changed since it was thought of by Universal Creative, that team, to what it is that you're going to go through. It's just a really cool thing for me, in my opinion, that you can have them explain that story of what the house is from the inception or the original idea, or maybe it's a sequel like what was the one that was last year? It was for the I can't remember the name right now, but some of them have sequels, or they have one that's tested out and does well over in Hollywood, and they bring over to Orlando to test it out there. So it's really cool for that, just to me, because there's nothing like that really in Orlando that's every year, that's always different. And that's one of the coolest, most creative things to have, and it's been going on for, again, I forget what year it is now. I think this year is 34, 35. So I think it's 34, but it's just a cool thing that you can have this, like them give you the premise of what the house is, then it's just and on the tour at least you just go right for it, you go in, there's no wait, and I love that too. And to me it's worth the money because RIP tours are not cheap. I think the past 2 years I've done them, I paid $400 for the first year and then $450 for last year, so they are going up in price, which is kind of lame, but the experience of it all, of having your own tour director, essentially, tour guide. And I don't personally look into the stories when I go. I let them explain it to me. And the houses is more fun that way for me. So let me know what you've done, if you've done Halloween Horror Nights, or if you enjoy it for the same reasons as I do or different reasons. Give me all that in the comments below. I'd love to hear it very, very much. And again, give me your earliest memory of Universal Orlando. If it was a long time ago, I'd love to hear that too. And then again, give me your most recent memories as well. And I'd love to hear all of it. Again, thanks for watching everything, and I'll see you all in the next video.